anytime I meet new people, I don't say, "Hi, I'm Sam, and I do real estate in New York City."
Whoa.
No.
Whoa.
No.
Whoa. You gotta have a little bit of tact. You gotta be skillful in how you present it.
Everyone said, don't expect to make money your first year of real estate. But I remember hearing that and being like, challenge accepted.
It is critical that every single day you see a new piece of real estate. Oh my God.
Oh my God. What is the 300 name list? Nile, enlighten us. Do I know 300 people? You do. I promise you, you do.
Yes. So like, none of my friends are helping me. Like, I don't understand.
Do they know that they need to be helping
Did you tell them?
You say yes to every opportunity that comes your way. Like, oh wow, I can't wait to buy
You're so
one
right.
of those one day. I'm like,
If it's like a big tower and it looks nice, then there's no lights on it. It's like, oh, what's going on here? Then you want to capture the address, look it up.
Oh, I love this saying. Don't underestimate the power, the strength of weak ties.
Yeah, that's
love this line.
It's also like a beautiful thing about calling the people that you kind of know. And those people sometimes are more happy to help you out. Welcome. This is the Brokers That Never Sleeps podcast. We are in season 2, episode 4. This is incredible. It's just been an amazing experience getting this podcast off the ground. Samantha Germano has been amazing. So I just want to say thank you at the beginning of this podcast.
You are welcome.
And we have some amazing things for you today. And I'll let Samantha kick it off right at the beginning. So I'll let you take it from here.
All right. Okay. So a couple interesting things happened. Trevor Noah from The Daily Show sold his Hell's Kitchen penthouse for $9.5 million.
Somebody bought that?
Somebody bought that. So it comes with its own private plunge pool, which is pretty cool. And it was last asking $10.99 million.
Okay.
He bought it in 2017 for $10.18 million. So he took a bit of a loss on it.
Okay.
But you know, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. And that's right over by all the studios, right? So he was probably just like walking over to work.
Yeah. It's 425 West 50th Street.
Got it.
Close by.
Yep.
Then something interesting.
Ooh, tell me what else. What do you got?
We're going down south for this one. So Messi bought
another Fort Lauderdale mansion.
Fort Lauderdale mansion for $10.8 million.
First of all, Messi had probably struck the most ridiculous. First of all, I don't know if anyone saw that. Was it the Michael Jordan on the Nike shoe documentary or on Netflix?
Okay.
It was about like how the Jordan shoe came about. I don't know if anybody saw that, but Jordan ended up striking like the most incredible deal because he got a percentage of the shoe sales.
Yep.
You know, Messi's deal is akin to that. So there's all kinds of, you know, little bonuses involved, including when he leaves FC Miami or Inter Miami, I believe it's called now.
Yeah.
He becomes like an owner of the, you know, there's like a million different ways. So instead of, you know, because I think he turned down like a multi-billion-dollar deal from the Saudis potentially.
Yeah.
And he did this, and then this is going to end up being like 100 times bigger than that because of all the endorsements and stuff. I don't know if you've ever seen, I love watching Messi. So I lived in Barcelona back in the day. So when Messi his first year playing for FC Barcelona, I saw Messi play against Ronaldinho and Eto'o and Puyol and like everybody, Xavi. So like I was at the game and I would watch it and we would see this little guy just running back and we're like, who is this guy? And I was learning Spanish at the time. So I would say, you know, El Messi, que sucio, which means like how dirty. Because like if you're really good in English, it's like, oh, dude, he's dirty.
Yeah.
So I would always say that like at the bars or whatever in Barcelona, and people are like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, you know, he's really good. He's dirty. You know, they're like, I don't think they got it, but
you got it.
I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
So it's just it's always been something I've always watched is Messi in his career and his progression. Just because, you know, I saw him at an early age. I saw him play when he was 17 years old. And to watch him kind of grow up and be who he is today, it's like alarming. Like he's such a stud. Plus, you see the bodyguard that follows him around?
No.
So like if this is the court right here and Messi's here, or pitch, I think it's called pitch, not court. So if there's the soccer pitch, if there's the pitch here and Messi's here. His security guard is like just follows him. So when stands jump off, like this guy tackles him.
Oh, I
the
did
big
see
guy,
that.
The huge, the
I
Navy
saw that.
SEAL guy.
Yeah.
I mean, and people like he's just walking down to like go into the stadium, and people are trying to touch him, and he's like signing autographs, but like someone's like, "Hey, Messi," and the guy's hand will just be like,
"I don't think so."
No one's allowed to touch Messi.
That's so insane. Well, now he's acquiring incredible pieces of real estate in Florida, and this purchase is on top of the 3 condos that he owns in like Sunny Isles,
right?
Too,
right. Yeah, there's he spent some time in Key Biscayne too. So Key Biscayne is a big South American enclave down in Miami, and a lot of Argentinians. So Messi had a place. One of the homes that I did a deal with, Messi lived there for a little bit.
Wow.
But he had to leave because too many people were banging down the gates. There's gates up front. They were like climbing over.
Oh my
so
God.
he had to take off. So I know Key Biscayne pretty well, and it was interesting to kind of hear that story, but then see what he's doing, right? How do you deal with that kind of publicity? Well, you kind of throw people off. You get stuff in Fort Lauderdale.
Yep.
How does he get to Fort Lauderdale? I'm sure he's just taking the chopper after the game, to Faux Liggity.
Yeah.
Faux Liggity. Anybody that knows, they call it Faux Liggity.
If you know it, you know it.
Yeah. If you know it, you know it. So Messi's just got an unbelievable real estate portfolio. And Leo, if you're listening, bro, hit me up,
Yeah, come on. Well, what I thought was interesting too is, so he bought this mansion for $10.8 million. The owners who originally bought it of May of last year purchased it for $9 million. So that means there was a 20% boost in 16 months.
It's not enough. I don't think it's enough. Remember when I did that deal down in Miami, it was like an 85% boost in 14 months.
Yes. But that was also between 2020 and 2021.
Okay.
But still.
Yes. Big jumps.
Big jumps.
Yeah. 20%'s a lot. So,
yeah.
I mean, just in a year, I think that's a pretty good trade. Make $1 million just by putting some money down, waiting, and then selling it to Messi. I mean, that's not bad. I would love to be like, I sold this house to Messi, no big deal. Messi, let me just come back. We're gonna all hang out. He's like, get the out of here.
Like, my security guard will take care of you.
He pulls me out.
What would you do if Messi toured the home that you live in and like wanted to buy it?
The home that I live in, and he wanted to buy it? I'd be like, yeah, take it, bro. We'll be friends. It's part of the deal. It's like, you can have it.
This deal is contingent upon us becoming friends.
I'm going to charge you a little amount, but I'm also going to get the upside in all your shoe deals, jerseys, and...
You want equity.
Yeah. Like, you could just take it. I'll just give me all the equity that you have in it was Inter Miami now.
Yeah. And you must be my friend.
Right. I think that's a good trade.
I think it's
he
a great
would want
trade.
to do it. Messi knows.
100%. Okay, so let's get into what we want to talk about today.
Okay.
So obviously you and I have been doing real estate for quite some time. I've been doing it for 3 years. You've been doing it for 15 plus.
Are you just trying to tell everyone how old I am?
No.
Oh, okay. Yes, I've been doing real estate for 15 years, pretty much my entire career.
Yeah.
I've sold a bunch of different things before I landed in New York City, whether it's knives or home security systems, door to door. But as soon as I graduated college, I moved to New York City and I got into real estate. So I've been doing it since 2008.
Wow.
Long time.
You're really old. No, I'm kidding. Okay.
I have a lot of experience.
You have a lot of experience.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I want to get into today is obviously there is so much that you learn in your first year of real estate. And a lot of people who haven't even gotten their license yet or are just thinking about getting into real estate are wondering what that first year is like. And I want to give some context and just share what our experience was, what our key learnings were, and just what to expect in your first year of real estate and how to navigate that.
Wow. What a topic, by the way.
We have so much to unpack.
I think a lot of people always want to know this, so it's good that we have an avenue. I'm sure we can just share this link to everyone who wants to know what it's like in the future to kind of get into real estate. But do you want to start or do you want me to?
I can start. Okay.
Cool.
Because when I think about
You're a little bit more recent, so.
Sure. Okay. So before I got into real estate, I did what I think a lot of people do. And I called people who I knew who were in the industry already. And I asked, what do I expect? Like the only way you're going to know is by either, hearing about other people's experience before you dip your toe into it and then just, getting into the nitty gritty of it. So everyone I asked shared the difficult parts of it. But at the end of the day said it was, a great career. But the reason why I bring this up is because everyone said, don't expect to make money your first year of real estate. And that's a hard pill to swallow, especially you're getting your license, you're putting all this work into it. You're going to have to work long, grueling hours. And then to be told that you're not going to make any money, it's difficult to hear. But I remember hearing that and being like, challenge accepted. Like, I am not going to let other people's experience dictate what my first year is going to be like. So I mentioned this. Mentality is everything. So I bring this up because if you are considering getting into real estate and you are hearing people share this with you, just know that was their experience and it doesn't mean it's your experience. Your mentality going into it will set the tone for the first year. So I bring that up. Number 2, another tidbit, kind of getting into the beginning of your journey, is you have to think of your first 3 years of real estate as real estate grad school. Ryan Serhant says this a lot. If you make anything in your first 3 years of real estate, consider yourself lucky, but just know that those are your formative years of you learning and investing in yourself to then see the return on it, your 5th year, right, or so on and so forth. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. You said, what is your first year like? And my first reaction was brutal.
It is brutal. Don't get me wrong. My first year of real estate was brutal.
Yeah, and I think it depends on the market, right? Mm-hmm. If you're in a small town and the inventory is relatively the same, Nebraska, everything's a 3-bed, mm-hmm, for $250,000, right? Like, I don't think it's rocket science to hammer that market out. When you look at a market like New York City, the reason why I say it's brutal is because the scale of it is just so big. Mm-hmm. You have Brooklyn, you have Queens, you have Bronx, you have Staten Island, you have Manhattan, which mm-hmm. is insane. Mm-hmm. I mean, the towers, they're vertical. It's literally every tower is a vertical city. Mm-hmm. So you have, thousands of people. Some of them even have their own schools and daycares and like all these things. So it's a lot. And what I always say is when you are a brand new real estate agent, it is critical that every single day you see a new piece of real estate. And I tell everybody this that works for me because over time, after, think about it, 365 days a year, what Ryan said, 3 years of grad school, mm-hmm. 365. So it's like over 1,000 mm-hmm. days. So after 3 years, and if you go every single day, just to see one everything. Apartment, you'll see, after 3 years, you'll have seen 1,000 different apartments. And what makes me dangerous compared to a new agent, not only is it the, experience or skills, but I made a commitment to that, and I still do that to this day. I'm like, hey, is there a piece of real estate that I can go out and see, even if it's nearby where I'm at or an appointment just to pop into a broker's open house? Because that moment where you can get in there and then see it and then be with a client and they're like, oh, well, what I'm thinking about is maybe this. And I'm like, well, it's funny. I was actually just there yesterday. Mm-hmm. And this is, from what I hear you saying is that you need a view. And these apartments are amazing, mm-hmm. but they all face brick walls. All the pictures look super beautiful online, but I know because I was just there, mm-hmm. right? Yeah, when you get up to the $30 million penthouses, then you might be able to see more of a view, et cetera, et cetera. Yep. So educating yourself is not just, listening to this podcast or, doing Sell It Like Serhant, for example, but it's also getting up, getting out, and going and making appointments and seeing different pieces of inventory. Mm-hmm. And I know that's challenging, but it requires effort.
Yep.
And if you do that over time, you will have the knowledge, skill set, and database to then, talk to clients, with ease. Another thing that I think is very important is new agents, when they go to a new building, mm-hmm. To just make a nice video of it. Mm-hmm. Hey, this is the video. It doesn't have to be crazy. It doesn't even have to be a TikTok. I still have videos from 15 years ago of me and my little box camera that recorded in like 64 gigabyte nonsense. But I would go and I would take videos of all these different apartments.
Yeah.
The advantage of that is that if I have somebody asking about a 3-bed in Murray Hill, or
Like, here you go.
is this one good? Oh, you don't like that one? What about this one? Right? And then all of a sudden, you're not just sending somebody street easy links,
Yep.
but you actually have on the ground experience and tangible data and information that you can show them
Yep.
and say, hey, is this right? It's not right. Okay. And then let's unpack that. Right. And then you could, just by having that upfront conversation and showing them those things at the beginning, you could probably potentially save yourself many, many different showings and stuff like that. So it's super efficient. And it also, because like you can only store so much stuff in your brain. So like I'm really smart, but I'm not that smart. So making a video allows me to go back and be like, oh, okay, that's what that one is. So it gives you a reference point.
Yep, I agree. And it's great to have that way. Like you said, it saves so much time. And then it shows the client that you have covered already so much ground, even though you're only in your first year. It kind of shows that I actually know a lot more than you would think I do.
Right.
Let's talk about the 300 name list.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. What is the 300 name list? Nile, enlighten us.
Yeah. So the 300 name list is one of my secrets to the business, and this might cost you guys, but if you want to just get a notepad out so you can take notes on this, that'd be great. Just joking. There's nothing to take notes on. The 300 name list is a list of 300. It's literally just a PDF, and I have just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they're blank. So everybody who joins my team, mandatory, is to fill out the 300 name list. Okay, so that's names, emails, phone numbers. If you don't know 300 people, you might want to rethink real estate, right? Because the people that are like, well, I don't really know. It's like, that sounds like you're already like putting yourself down here, right? Because if you really want it, then you have to go
figure it out.
And even though you know that person, but you're not comfortable calling them, guess what? You're in a commission-based industry.
You can call
them.
them.
You want to make money? You got to call them.
Yeah.
Right? So the 300 name list is just a list of all of your contacts. I don't care if it's your mom, if it's your dad, if it's your aunt, if it's your uncle. But what you do is you call them and say, hey, look, I just got into real estate. I know it sounds crazy, but I am super committed to this, right? You want to tell everyone your story, your level of commitment, and then make an ask. Right? You say, hey, this is what's going on. This is my new thing. I know you like me. I know you love me. I've also helped you a million times in the past. I'm looking for a little bit of help right now. I just started a new thing. I know it sounds a little crazy, but who do you know right now who's looking to buy, sell, or rent? Right? And then asking that question to your network will inevitably help you uncover all of these opportunities that are already within your sphere of influence, right? A lot of people think that they have to get into real estate and then make all these Instagram posts. And Instagram is great for overall awareness. And I think it's very, very important. Social media, I think, is critical to lead generation, et cetera. But when you first start, it's super critical to just focus on who you know. It's very hard to convert somebody that you've never met and you don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Right? I can convert somebody quickly because I can ask 4 questions, know exactly what their needs are, and then be able to pivot and maneuver. New people don't know how to do that. So it's very important to do it within a safe space.
Yeah. With
your friend, with your mom's sister's daughter, like those type. Is that your cousin, mom's sister? Just making stuff.
Your mom's sister's friend's daughter.
Yeah, cousins. Yeah, exactly. But those are where most of your deals come in. So like, have you had any success with that?
One thing I was going to say quickly is when you hear a 300 name list, the first thing you're going to think of is, I don't know 300 people. Because at first I scratched my head a bit and it was like, do I know 300 people? You do. I promise you, you do.
Yes, you do.
And here are some helpful tips to find that. Go on your LinkedIn, look at everyone you're friends with. If you have 500 plus connections or however many, like that's a huge chunk of people right there.
Right.
Go to your Facebook friends, go to your Instagram followers, go to your Twitter followers, go to your TikTok followers. Like, you do know people. It's just about thinking and actively finding where these people are.
Right.
Think about your past jobs. Think about family members, like you said. So I promise you, if you don't think you know 300 people, I will put money on the fact that you do.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is everyone's going to say, 300 names. Well, I don't know that many people. That's just the first reaction, and I get it. It's hard. 300 people, oh my God.
Yeah.
But you're right. you do know those people. And if you actually put the work in, you'd be surprised.
Yeah. To answer your question, though, yes, I have found success with it. It definitely took some time in the beginning after calling people, getting comfortable with that, because it's picking up the phone, letting people know who you are, knowing that you do real estate. And I think real estate does have a bit of a stereotype of like the car salesman. But I think if you do it in a kind of poised and like mature way, being like, hi, I got into real estate. Crazy, I know. I'm doing it. If you know of anyone, let me know. I'm dedicated to this, and like you said, like we've had this XYZ relationship in the past. Let me help you. Kind of like when you spin it like that, people are more inclined to be like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd want to help you.
I want to help you too.
People don't know what to do or how to help you unless you tell them.
Yeah.
Right? Most people are like, well, none of my friends are helping me. Like, I don't understand. It's so frustrating. It's like, well,
do they know that they need to be helping
Did you tell them that they should be? And another thing too, it's not just about calling the person and saying, oh, I know somebody, but then you need to coach your contact from your 300 name list on how to make that introduction. And I just say, look, the easiest way to do it is just to bridge a group text, and I'll take it from there.
Yeah.
And if it works out, amazing. If it doesn't work out, totally cool. If we could just hop on a call and help your friend out just with some general market knowledge, that's also cool too. Yep. But like, as a new agent, you want to be in the habit of having those conversations and then seeing, okay, is this person for real or not? And maybe they're not, and that's okay. And you just had a nice basic conversation. I just had a call with somebody, $4.5 million apartment. They don't live here. They've been renting it out. And he's like, yeah, and I'd love to work with you, but like, my place is rented out. So we had, a long conversation. We spoke for 30, 40 minutes, and he's like, Jan 1, just hit me up. I was like, cool. So, it's about just like putting stuff in the piggy bank too, because real estate is a very slow moving business. People on average trade homes every 7 years. So you have to kind of catch them within that window. So it's slow moving. So you have to kind of like invest and put, time, effort, and energy into the piggy bank. And if you do that enough, then you have a really big piggy bank and it's super full. And then when you're like, oh, I need to make money, you just take the sledgehammer out and then smash that thing.
I always say your first year is your planting of the seeds year. You're not going to see anything come to fruition your first year. You're just not. But all the work that you do in your first year is setting yourself up for your fifth year.
Right.
Another question I have for you is, a lot of new agents, after they get their license, ask themselves, do I need to join a team or not? What are your thoughts?
I mean, it really depends on where you see yourself. And I think it's important to have like a general vision on the type of business that you want to be doing. Do you want to do rentals? That's something that is quicker money. You learn fast. I think learning from the rental standpoint is the best way to learn, because you learn how to deal with clients and situations
at like a quicker pace.
At quick pace. So it teaches you that, hey, this is New York. If you sleep on it, you're not making money because somebody else like me is coming in with paperwork, boom, boom, rent it, right? So you learn the speed of it. I think joining a team is something that if I could have done it again, I probably would have done. I didn't necessarily join a team. I got into rentals. I was like a solo agent. I did commercial real estate. I just cold called. I started a brokerage. Then I was a solo agent. I built a team. I never really was on a team. And I think that was probably one of the bigger drawbacks to my career, and why it took me maybe a little bit longer than some other people to kind of like really take off, because I was learning on my own. And one of the big things that I say to a lot of the new agents that work for me is like, I'm going to teach you, and I'm going to teach you like direct, so that you know exactly what the problem is, so that you can learn and you don't have to feel the pain that I felt when I made those mistakes without coaching. Yeah. Right. So you have the coaching. Amazing. Good. Go after it. Learn, fail. I'll teach you. But, for me, it was just like trial and error over and over and over again. And I was like, all right, that didn't work. Let me try it again. So it was like a lot of time and effort and meetings and appointments, and nothing was really happening. So if I could have done it again, and I said, hey, I want to have a luxury presence to what my idea of being in real estate is luxury, then joining a team, in my opinion, is probably, the most important thing to do if you really want to be in a luxury luxury standpoint.
I think joining a team is absolutely essential your first year. There's something that you get from working with other people, working underneath people that is invaluable. Personally, even if you can't go into it expecting opportunities when you join a team, but you go into it expecting to learn at a faster pace than you would on your own. So, for example, like when I got into the business, I shadowed a lot of the people on my team. They weren't giving me opportunities to make money, but they were giving me opportunities to learn invaluable information. Also, it's incredible to have people that you can rely on when you are going through challenges, when you are facing difficulties in some of your deals. Like, you have people to go to versus on your own. You're
in isolation, and you might not have experienced the situation you're in, how to deal with a condo or how to deal with this particular managing agent. And if you don't know, you're like emailing them all these different things, and then they're like just not responding. You're like, why are they not responding? You're pulling your hair out. And it's like, well, they got a million things going on. So instead of writing them 400 emails, just consolidate it to one email and ask 5 questions with bullet points. So you don't have to read through paragraphs. People just keep writing. It's like, hi, this is how I do it. My emails are like, hi, this is what's next. Bullet, thanks. Like, that's it. Because no one really has time. And you learn that by, being in the business. And I think that's one of the big things that a lot of the agents that work on the Lundgren team, I think have taken. Samir, I think, is excellent at his email game with like the bullet points and everything. Scotty Porter down in Miami, he also basically his whole design for emails is just bullet points. Because what we've realized when we're dealing with people on the super high end is those people don't really have time.
So they want bullet points.
And they just want bullet points. They just want to see, okay, what do I need to take action on? The whole paragraphs and paragraphs back to your clients. It's a lot, especially you think too, this is another side point, but you think when you get into the business that when your client sends you this long text, that you got to respond with a long text. So like Sarah Cotty, for example, had this client, and it was so funny because she wrote this. The client must have wrote like I don't know how long it was, but it was an iPhone message, I was like still scrolling.
Jesus.
And then Sarah's like, all right. And then she had like a notepad, and she's like, this is my response. And I was like, oh my God. Like you could definitely go down that rabbit hole, or you could just write, yes. Right? Because if you get into it with them, then there's more to get into, and it's like a thing. Right? I'm not saying you ignore them, but like, got it. You don't need to always get in there and explain everything back. And that's the inclination for a lot of new agents is to go in without really understanding and then try to couch it so it makes it sound like they know. And then they kind of get into, some muddy waters. My thought process is always just at the beginning less questions. You have 2 ears, 1 mouth. Oh, okay, John, tell me a little bit more about what you mean by that. Yeah.
Another thing too, and this may be self-explanatory, but in the beginning, you say yes to every opportunity that comes your way.
Right.
Doesn't matter if you feel it's beneath you or you feel like you're not going to gain anything out of it. And I'm not even just talking about like in necessarily with deals or meeting clients. Like any opportunity you have to get in a room with other people, any opportunity you have to connect with a new clientele base, you have no idea what saying yes will lead you to, and the people who you'll meet along the way. Say yes to everything.
Yeah, especially at the beginning. And I think what's also important too by saying yes is that you learn what's real and what's not real, right? So by saying yes, you could then sniff out, and that will help you have a better sniff test for the future. Yeah. So like, is this person real? Let me just sit down with them and see. And then you could ask the right questions, and time will inevitably tell you.
Yep. I mean, I remember my first year, I definitely spent way too much time with certain clients, but here's the thing.
You have to, right?
I need to, because now, sniff test, I can tell within 5 minutes whether a client is real or not, because I went through countless clients who wasted my time. Not intentionally, but they just, didn't know what they're doing. They weren't real clients. So it's very important for context later on.
Yep.
Another thing too, someone, just joined a team, they got into real estate. how do you structure your day? Like your first day in real estate, what are you doing?
I mean, that is a great question. I think you could look at Ryan's finder, keeper, doer. You know, the beginning of your day, you should be setting yourself up. So finding leads. So if you're a new agent, calling that 300 name list, you know, you're basically just getting out there and you're saying, all right, this is what I'm doing. So you're trying to set yourself up. You're trying to get the leads so that you can maybe do something in the afternoon.
Yep.
Oh, Jenny needs a 3-bed? Great. I could show Jenny a 3-bed at 3 o'clock. Does that work? Put me in touch with her in a text message.
Yep.
And then I'll call her and then have a nice, robust 30-minute phone conversation and then take her out and do the deal real quick. Right? So that's the beginning. Finder, you want to find your leads in the morning. And at the beginning, it's just going to be calling. Okay? Because you don't really have any leads like you walked in and I'm like, here's a stack of leads.
Yeah.
Glenn, Gary, Glenn, Russ. Go call them up. Sometimes that happens. But so then keeper, the middle of the day is where you want to keep the business that you have. So if you're a new agent, you don't really have this part, but if you're, you know, an agent who's doing deals, you're going to want to use that time to worry about any contracts that you might have had out, and then, you know, talk to the attorneys, you know, figure out what's up with the lenders, that kind of stuff. So you're keeping your business.
Yeah, I would also just say too, like for someone who doesn't have leads, you can think of this middle phase as just nurturing your current relationships.
Right.
So like not reaching out to like cold leads, but nurturing the people in your life who you already have relationships with. Just saying, hey, you know, saw this apartment, made me think of you. Like something as simple as that, just to get back on people's radar who you already have relationships with.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, I've done it. I've done it many times.
Yeah,
like
that's a nice
I'll be like, hey, saw this apartment, made me think of you, and they're like, oh wow, I can't wait to buy.
You're so
one
right.
of those one day. I'm like, and then doer.
So doer, yeah, that's where you get out and you do the work. You know, you go show the apartments,
or see apartments,
tour apartments, go to brokers' open houses, broker previews, preview new developments, just walk around in general. You know, you'd be surprised at how much you could find just by walking around. There's a lot of clues out there. You know, if you're walking around a neighborhood and you see a nice building, but there's no lights on at night, maybe it's something that needs to be sold. And seriously, if there's lights on, it's like, all right, well, people are living there, it's sold. But if it's like a big tower and it looks nice, then there's no lights on, and it's like, oh, what's going on here? Then you want to capture the address, look it up, find out who owns it, you know, that kind of stuff. Yeah. Call them.
Yeah. Also, I love this saying, and we've talked about it before, don't underestimate the strength of weak ties.
Yeah, that's
love this line because
that's Chris Schember right there.
Yes, it's so
I love you, Chris.
True. There is a insane value of what weak ties, aka relationships that with people that you aren't so close with, but you have some sort of relationship with, who will end up being the people who change your life the most.
Right. So the premise of that, and I'll just give you some of the background, is a good friend of mine, his name is Chris Schember. He started the 747 Club. I helped him at the onset with the first, 45, 50 dinners, and he basically threw 16-person dinner parties with strangers in his tiny studio apartment, maybe a little bit bigger than this. You would say 16 people in a tiny studio apartment, how does that work? But he made it work. And what happened is at the dinner, you'd have, he'd have programming, he'd tell a funny story, and then he'd get up and say, all right, this is something very vulnerable about me, right? Now, because they're not all of his best friends, because they're not his family, he was able to then be more vulnerable. And by doing that at the onset, the next person that went, because they didn't really know anybody either,
it's like, what do you have to lose?
This is what I'm going through. Like, my mom just died, or, I'm still in the closet and I'm trying to come out and I don't know what to do. And we're all like, holy shit, like, this is real. Like, so when you don't really know somebody, you're more apt to like help them or listen to them, right? But when you are listening to your mom or your sister, that's where judgment comes into play, right? And there's a beautiful thing about calling the people that you know, and then there's also like a beautiful thing about calling the people that you kind of know and being like, yeah, hey, this is what I'm really doing. And those people sometimes are more happy to help you out. It's pretty crazy. Like, some of the closest people I know are just like, yeah, maybe, I don't know. And I'm like, really? Come on. Right? But then like someone who I just met and you know they might have listened to this podcast and they're like, oh my God, like how can I help you? And it's like, I don't even really know you that much, but that goes to show you that there is a serious strength in weak ties, and do not overestimate that, especially when you just come into the business.
Yep. Utilize, I would say, more your weak ties than your close ties.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up, I want to mention 2 other things. So kind of going into, you know, being in environments where you're meeting new people, I think joining a gym, joining some sort of like membership club where you're seeing people on a consistent basis is incredible. I would suggest doing something where you're seeing the same faces consistently, because then you're able to build a relationship first, just out of pure, commonalities or interests. And then just obviously career is going to come up in those conversations. You mentioned you do real estate, not pushing it, but you know, then they associate you with the real estate. You already have a great relationship. You're seeing them week over week or month over month. It's an incredible place to build relationships.
Yeah, and I'd say you've done a pretty good job. I think in general, and we'll talk about it in a sec, but I think the general point here is that you always want to find some sort of community. When I first got to the city, you know, I went to Trinity College in Hartford, Connecticut. Okay, Trinity is a NESCAC school, New England Small College Athletic Conference situation or whatever. Bates, Bowdoin, Amherst, Wesleyan, all those schools. The thing about it is that they have these clubs in New York, in Midtown. So there is the Williams Club, and the Williams Club is a member of the Princeton Club. So because I went to Trinity, I was able to join the Williams Club, and then because the Williams Club was in the Princeton Club, and I joined that like right at the beginning. So I'm like 23, 24, I'm in the Williams Club. There's not that many people trying to do it. So I just was like, yeah, I'll do whatever. I said yes to everything. Yep. Next thing you know, I'm like the liaison between the Williams Club and the Princeton Club. We're doing programming, scotch and cigar nights, like all these different things. And I became friends with all these people from not only the NESCAC schools, but then also the Ivy schools. And I would always hang out at the Princeton Club and go to the bar and bring my friends there and have a drink or get some food. And then I would start to see the same people over and over again. And then that would inevitably lead me to conversations. Hey, what are you doing now? Well, you know, I'm still selling real estate. You know, I'd love it. Oh, you know what? I'm actually thinking about buying. Sweet. Let's talk about it.
Done. Yeah, like it sometimes it does happen just like that.
It does. You just have to put yourself out there. And in a really key point that I think is really important for all new and aspiring agents, or even just agents like myself, you know, and a big thing that I'm focusing on this year, specifically the fall and then going into next year, is being seen. So Carrie Chang is one of the top real estate brokers in the world. Eventually, I mean not eventually, but inevitably, she's just been in the business for such a long time, and she always says you got to be seen. So you got to go to that place. You got to go sit there front row so people see you. It's about being seen. So another thing that you've done is you've went to the YJP, which is the Young Jewish Professionals, and Samantha has really established some inroads in that. Just a side note about me, I'm not Jewish, but, you know, I'm an honorary member, and I used to go to the YJP events because I wanted to be involved in a community that was, broad-based around real estate. And, I met a lot of people by doing that. I ended up leaving because they were like, wait, are you really Jewish? I'm like,
fraud.
So that was really funny. But like when you were like, hey, I'm thinking about doing the YGP, I'm like, yes, good idea. Because that's where you have like-minded people who are trying to help each other in a safe place. And you've seen great success. Tell everyone about that.
I mean, the first time I went there, a friend encouraged me to come. And he was like, it's a great networking opportunity. I said, sign me up. I go, and I was shocked. Everyone there is just handing out business cards with each other. And people go there to meet other people in different industries that are, like, have overlap.
Right.
But, like, everyone went there with the intention to meet someone else. And I was like, this is great.
Right.
Like, this is what you, should be doing. And I've done that in other aspects, too. I was a member of Soho House. I went to events there. Anywhere I go, I don't then this is an important note. Anytime I meet new people, I don't say, hi, I'm Sam, and I do real estate in New York City.
Whoa.
No.
Whoa.
No.
Whoa.
I lead with getting with my character and like my true intentions of just, I have a genuine interest in meeting new people. That is like a part of my DNA. I
Yeah.
love meeting new people and hearing their stories and finding out what they do and all of that. And obviously career is going to come up. It's a question that, it's one of the first 3 questions that you ask someone when you meet someone.
Yeah, it's like, who you dating? Where do you live? And what's your job?
Yeah.
Those are the 3 questions people ask in here.
Lay 'em
So where do you
out.
live?
Yeah.
Who you dating? And where do you work?
Yeah.
And they're like, doop, doop, doop.
And so naturally, like, it's going to come up. You're going to say that you do real estate. And then sometimes I just say, yeah, I do real estate. And I let them tell me like everyone has a relationship to real estate because everyone lives somewhere. Everyone either is renting or buying or knows someone who is renting or buying.
Right.
It's going to come up. Don't force it. Just let it happen. And sometimes I don't even talk about it. I just say I do real estate and then that's it. Because all you're doing is planting the seed and then letting them come to you. Sometimes I think that's a good way of going about business.
Yeah, and I think New York in particular is a bit of a sophisticated crowd.
Yeah.
You know, if you just lead with, I'm in real estate, blah, 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 you know, people are like,
You're going to immediately
"What?"
turn people off.
And it might work. I don't know. You know, in a
Sure.
different market, it's like, hi, I'm the real estate agent. And like, everyone's like, great. You know, like, all right, maybe that. But New York, you got to have a little bit of tact. You got to
Yeah.
be skillful in how you present it. You know, when I was doing my other podcast that I was on for a number of years, I'd like to kind of like play coy. So I'm always like wearing a suit, like what I'm wearing now. And people are like, oh, what do you do? And I'd always be like, oh, yeah, podcasting. Just to see. And they're like, what do you mean podcasting? I'm like, yeah, just talk about a lot of different topics. Podcasts. Just to kind of see where they're at, because you know, you could tell quick. Are they interested in podcasts? And they're like, wait, what is the podcast about? And like, oh, it's about real estate.
And then boom.
And then I talk about, and they're like, wait, so then by saying you're a podcast, that also positions yourself as an expert. Right? I have a podcast. I'm on a podcast.
Clearly, I know what I'm talking
so
about.
I know what I'm talking about. And they're like, but what's it about? And you're like, oh, real estate. So,
And they're like, so you do real estate.
Right.
And you're like, yeah.
a little bit of both. Yeah. A little bit of both. And they're like, well, what kind of real estate? And you see what I'm saying? And I'm not like vomiting at the mouth.
Yeah.
You know, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I sold this much last year.
No, when I'm out meeting people and they say, what do you do? I say, I do real estate.
That's it.
Any questions?
I have a lot of questions.
Yeah.
How long have you been doing it?
Yeah. And then, of course, like people ask because they're curious, which I'm happy to talk about. But like we're saying, you don't shove it down people's throats.
Right. And that's a really important point, is like, you want to spark curiosity out of the people that you're meeting, right? You don't want to jam things down their throat, right?
Yeah.
If they don't have the vessel or the capacity to take in what you're saying, there's no point in really saying it.
Yeah.
Right? Because you could just be like jamming, and they're just like looking at you.
Yeah.
So like what I do is I kind of like inspire curiosity just by saying little fun things, and then that allows them to ask more, and then I selectively give it to them, and then and then I'm like, all right, let me ask you a couple questions now.
Yeah.
Then, you know,
do you rent? Do you own?
Yeah,
Where do you live? Where do you own?
exactly.
Have you ever wanted to buy?
Yeah.
Okay, last thing to wrap this up. What do you think is the number one quality that an agent needs to have or possess in their first year of real estate?
So I think the number one quality that a new agent has to possess is a long-term approach. So this is not a tech play where you're going to make $10 million in a month. You know, I don't really know where that is, but you know, you have to be in it for the long run. So if you make a commitment today, like my commitment that I made with my mentor when I first got into the business was to stay in the business longer than all the other people who I was in real estate school with.
Yeah.
He said, because if you could stay in real estate longer than all those other people, the 100 people in your class, all of those clients that were working with those people will eventually go to you because they're just gone.
Yeah.
Right? So he's like, just have a long-term vision and stick it out and learn every single day. And eventually you will learn to be successful.
Yeah.
And it's true. I've done it.
Yeah. And you're here to tell the tale.
Barely.
I know I just said one quality, but I actually have 3 that are really important.
Okay.
1, curiosity.
Right.
Always ask questions. Never take anything for what it is. Always ask why until you get to the bottom and the root of whatever it is. Curiosity.
Right.
Number 2, patience. It's not I'm telling you, You will spend probably either your first 6 months, your first 8 months, or your first year hustling and working 7 days a week. It will be worth it. The energy that you put into it is the energy that you will get out of it. It's all for something. You just have to be patient. And patience is tough. I don't say that thinking that it's easy. It was definitely a hard pill for me to swallow. But you got to be patient. It's a long game.
Yep.
And third, I always say resilience. The way you handle the challenges, the way you handle a deal that falls through is going to determine the success of your next deal. So just be resilient. If a deal falls through, if a client ghosts you, if you lose out on something, brush yourself off, get back up, and go at it again.
I love that.
Yeah.
I'm actually, thanks. I needed that today. So I just, maybe had a deal. Anyway, but thank you for that. So that concludes our podcast today. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget to hit that notification bell, hit the like button, please subscribe. And as always, just mash the comments, please. We'll respond back to you. We love it. We love you. Yes. And thank you very much.
If you have questions that you want us to answer, we will answer them in the next episode, but you got to comment.
Yeah, would love that. All right. Take care.